Hi, everybody, and welcome to Brand Magic Episode 1. I am a little bit nervous about doing this and bringing this to you, but I do believe that there are so many businesses that can benefit from this information. So bear with me as I struggle my way through. But I really do believe that this is something that can help you understand a lot more about what branding is. Also, importantly, what branding isn't, and how you can actually start implementing things in your business right from the get-go that will help you build a brand that people will absolutely fall in love with. So there are a number of things that we need to address, and one of the elephants in the room is the fact that most people think that your logo is your brand. Now, I have a branding studio called White River Design, and it happens to me so often when people come and have an appointment with me, and in the conversation they say, I would like you to build me a brand. And as we start discussing things, it actually turns out that what they're saying is, I want you to design me a logo. Now, they're two entirely different things because your logo is not your brand. Apples don't sell computers. The Apple simply tells you, where to buy the product, and it also tells you who owns the product. But people don't buy computers or phones from Apple because of the logo. They buy it because of the brand. They buy it because of what the brand stands for, that they are innovative and they're forward thinking and they produce beautiful products that sync our entire lives. So you can see that there is so much more to Apple than simply their logo. And the same goes for any business that is building a brand. So this is the first thing that we need to understand, that before you look at designing a logo, there are a whole lot of things that you need to do before that, right? And once you do that part, that base entry-level stuff, all the other areas will fit into place. So I guess one of the things that I need to address is, well, if your logo is not your brand, what is your brand? And this brings me to, I had a question that came through earlier, and it was a question from Jeremy, and he actually said, if my logo is not my brand, then what is my brand and what is my business? What's the difference? So it's a really good question and it's very valid, right? So here's the difference. Your business, anything that you do that's transactional, that is a business. You're doing business. As soon as you buy and sell and you're making a transaction, that is business. However, branding is about creating a connection. And that is the big difference between having a business and having a brand. If you have just a transactional situation, which most people do with their businesses, it means that your clients can come and go as they please. They are more likely to flip to a competitor than they are with sticking with you. They might only buy from you once and never buy from you again. They might never think of your business when it comes time to purchase. But if you build a brand where you're actually connecting and you're resonating with your client and you create an experience for them that they remember and they're able to then tell their friends, that is now creating a connection that means there is a much higher chance of them coming back, thinking of you when it comes time to purchase, and being able to recommend you to their friends. Now, we all know that word of mouth and recommendation is the best form of advertising. So if you've got people talking about your business rather than you talking about your business, number one, that is a far better way to grow an authentic business. But what it also does is it creates loyalty. And you can't buy loyalty. That is something that happens as part of the service that you provide for your clients. So when you're looking at your brand, there are a number of things that you have to look at before you even design a logo, or things that you need to think about that can help you build a rock solid brand. Okay, and this becomes part of your brand strategy and one of the first things you need to think about. So ultimately, what you're wanting to do is create the best reputation for your business. Now, your reputation, you might want to have a reputation as being really funny. You might want to have a reputation as being super intellectual, or you might want a reputation as being a bit of a rebel and shaking up the status quo. It doesn't really matter as long as what you are saying and trying to produce matches up with what the client is then going to then process in their head and start talking about you. So to give you an example, it's quite ironic that most telcos who are in the business of communication are the worst communicators, right? You try and phone them up and you have to press, dial 9, dial 3, dial 7, dial 25 until you actually get to speak to a human being. Now, that seems totally ridiculous when they are in the business of communication, yet they can't communicate. And a number of years ago, Telstra actually put out an entire campaign when they did their rebrand, and they had a number of celebrities endorsing them, like Magda Zhavanski and Jessica Malboy and a couple of others. And their tagline at the end of it was, "We want to become famous for our service." Now, it became a bit of a running joke because they were already famous for their service, but not for the reasons that they wanted to be famous. They were famous for their service because of their bad service. And so this is where things fall flat quite a bit, when you think you are saying one thing and the customer is actually processing it in an entirely different way. So one of the first things we need to look at, and I'm going to give you a couple of little tips as to how to really think about your brand before you even start. So one of the first things you want to do is you need to understand your brand personality. Now, I'm going to go in more depth into this one in future episodes, but your brand personality is pretty much the backbone and the base of building a brand, right? Because this is all about how you do what you do, not about what you do. Okay, so what you do, you are competing against every other accountant, every other graphic designer, every other hairdresser. We all do the same things, right? But how we do it is entirely different. And it's that how part that figures out, it fits in really well with the personality of the brand. So that's the first thing you want to start with. The next thing that you want to look at is, what is your promise? What is your brand promise? What is that one thing that you're going to promise your customers? And you're going to make sure that that is your focus each and every day you come to work. And if you've got a team, it's what everybody focuses when they come to work. Now, you don't need 5 promises, because the chances are, if you've got 5 promises, you're going to let people down. And people are not going to be able to rely on you, because you're promising them the world, yet you're not actually delivering on it. So here's the thing. You need one promise. You need one good promise that you are going to focus on delivering every single day. It's also quite good to have a promise that is going to be very different to what your competitors might promise. And that may mean doing something a little bit scary. Promising something that is totally outlandish and unachievable is ridiculous for you to do, but maybe promising something that is going to stretch you a little bit, offer your clients that little bit more than anybody else would be prepared to offer them. And I can tell you, if this is a promise that you've made your customers and you know you have to deliver on it, it doesn't matter what else goes on. You just need to make sure that that's that one thing you deliver on. Because if you can do that, it means you're going to build a reputation for delivering on your promise. And branding is all about your reputation. Okay, so you want to look at what that is. Figure out what your promise is. Then you need to make sure you are committed to that promise. Committed to that promise 100%. Because if you're not committed to it, it means you're going to drop the ball somewhere. And as soon as you do that, your reputation is going to become one of not having delivered. Okay, so this is an important part of it, and I really have to stress it, because a lot of people don't think about it at all. Some people don't even realize, like, they don't even have a promise. They've never promised their customers anything. They've never promised their team anything. And so this is one part that you really do need to look at. Okay, I see Faith is with me and doing the Brand Magic Masterclass. So hopefully it's all starting to make a little bit of sense. If you have any questions, just pop them in and I will answer them as we go. So if you do have any questions, feel free to do that. And afterwards, I will be able to answer any questions as well. So you can pop them. If you don't get to watch the live video, you can pop them down in the comments area and I will answer every question as well. All right. So now that we've realized that you've got a brand promise, you need to be committed to that promise. The next thing we need to look at is, what does your business stand for? All right. What is the one thing, if you had to draw a line in the sand and say, this is what we stand for. This is what we want to become famous for, right? Now, if you're a bookkeeper, become famous for doing the books really doesn't make a lot of sense because that's just your job. It's what you have to do. But if you're going to make sure that the line in the sand is, we want to make sure that Baz is delivered on time every time. That could be one of the things. Or we want to make businesses grow and be profitable. We want to change lives by being able to address issues in a business sooner than anything else. Or maybe you want to make sure that you're not paying the tax man too much. I don't know. There are a number of different things that you could look at. So draw a line in the sand and say, what are we going to stand for, and stick to that. A lot of people might then take other issues that they feel relate very strongly to them. So they might support cancer research if they've been affected by cancer in the family or anything like that. They might stand, or in some cases, you might stand against something. So they might stand against domestic violence or against homelessness, or, you know, there's so many different things that people can stand for or against. And sometimes when you align your business with those kind of things, it means that people have a much stronger buy-in with you. So I'll give you another example. There's a brand called Thank You. So they started with water. And Daniel Flynn, one of the founders, he was traveling through Cambodia with his then girlfriend, who's now his wife. And they realized, you know, in these third world countries, there were people that were having to travel to walk 3-4 kilometers to be able to get water. And then really all they could get was what they could carry. And they would have to bring them back to the village. And then they'd run out again and they'd have to walk 2 or 3 kilometers and walk 2 or 3 kilometers back with these heavy tubs of water. And it got him thinking, going, you know what, in first world countries like Australia, we can turn on a tap and we can simply drink the water. Yet we still spend billions of dollars buying water out of the bottle. And so he thought, well, what if he were to create a company where he started with bottles of water and he'd sell water for the same price as the big companies, your Mount Franklins and Evians and all those companies. But instead of the money going into the pockets of the CEOs, 100% of the profit would go to funding water systems in third world countries. And so that is how the Thank You brand started, with this huge, you know, piece of what they stand for, to say, well, we can actually help people in third world countries simply by choosing to purchase a particular brand product. And, you know, since I found out about the Thank You brand, I actually will deliberately go out of my way to make sure that I choose to buy Thank You water or the Thank You hand products that they now have. They've now gone into a baby range. So they now don't only do water, but they also support hygiene and nutrition in these different areas as well. So it's a fantastic brand that has been built on this promise to help people in third world countries, while us as consumers in our first world lives, all we have to do is choose to buy a certain product and we are already helping somebody else. So we don't have to change our habits. We really don't have to change anything, and we can make a difference. So you can see how that can give someone a real purpose to say, well, why would I just buy Mount Franklin when I can buy Thank You and actually do some good in the world? So that's one of the other things that you want to be able to do. So we've gone through your brand promise. You need to know what your brand promise is. You need to be committed to that brand promise. The other thing is that you need to know absolutely 100% what it is that you stand for, because that in itself is massive. So the other thing that you need to do is you need to understand why you are in business. And if your purpose to be in business is simply to make money, then I can tell you right now, your business is not going to last long. You need to have a purpose that's a lot higher than that. And a lot of people call it your why. So this is where I would suggest to you, if you haven't seen the video Start With Why by Simon Sinek, head to TED Talks, or you can find him actually on YouTube. It is one of the most viewed videos ever. So Simon Sinek, S-I-N-E-K. Google him and watch his video because it's really profound and it makes so much sense. So if you know and understand what your why is, you're going to have a much better buy-in from your customers. All right. As I mentioned before, knowing who your business is super important as well, right? So that's pretty much what I wanted to go through as an initial start today. We need to understand that your brand is your reputation. It is what people say about you when you are no longer in the room, okay? It's what people are saying behind your back. Now, I'm not talking about those nasty friends of yours who don't like the fact that you're doing well and they're going to cut you down to shape because really they feel less adequate than you actually are. So don't worry about those people. I'm talking about people that use your services, that have the opportunity to recommend others. They know you on a professional level. What is the reputation that you're getting with them? And it's something that's so important. So your brand is not about your logo. Your brand is all about your reputation. And if you have complete clarity about your promise, about your commitment, what you stand for, and your why, your purpose in doing business, you have the really good groundwork to start your brand strategy. And the reason why strategy is so important is because you can't leave your reputation up to chance. You do need to structure it. You need to have a plan, because if you know what kind of reputation you want to build, you can focus all your energies around those kind of things and not leave it up to chance as to what people may or may not think of you in the future. So I hope that makes any sense. Hi, Mel. Nice to see you as well. Glad that you're on board. I know we created a very exciting brand for you, which is Awards Agency. And if anyone wants to check out a fantastic example of the hero brand personality, head to awardsagency.com.au and you can see a very good example of how a brand is being built there. So if anybody has any other questions, pop them down at the bottom in the comments section. Hopefully everything that I've said is making sense. If it is, give a little thumbs up. I'd love to know that it is starting to make a little bit of sense, that it's not about your logo. We are really trying to build a reputation before we even get to the logo design side of things, to the colors, to the fonts, to that visual aspect where people feel most comfortable. So I hope you've learned something in this episode. I will be back next Thursday. Fantastic, we've got thumbs up. I will be back next Thursday at 4 o'clock, and I'll be going through brand personalities, which is the most exciting part of all of this, which I think is going to be great. Thanks, Faith. Always informative, very appreciative of your skills and knowledge. Thank you very much for that. So I will see you all next week. Cheers. Bye.